So yeah, so if you look at the SOC.pdf, as we are following the SOC.pdf topics. So yesterday we have did part 1, well-known attacks, which we have covered: DOS, SYNFlood attack, DDoS, and brute force. So today we will be going through some of the attacks. So I'll try to brief it as simple as it possible. So, and also, like, most important, and with respect to the interview questions and the pattern. So I have simplified much easier, and I'm going to give that as the session, so you can just go through this document which I have just prepared. So yeah, anyways, once we are done with the session, I will be sharing this document, and you can keep this for the reference. And this will be covering the ARP protocol and ARP poisoning attack, zero-day attack, SQL injection, how SQL injection works with an example, and cross scripting, which is also called as XSS, and the example with respect to the cross scripting, followed with phishing, and the types of the phishing. So that's the common attacks or common cyber attacks which you will be seeing in general. That way we will be covering these topics. I hope maximum attendance are there. So let's proceed. So yeah, so typically let's understand what is an ARP. ARP is nothing but a address resolution protocol. So I'm sorry. Thanks for notifying me. Confirm me, I mean, once you could able to see the screen. Now you can see that. So yeah, ARP. So address resolution protocol. So basically it is a kind of a network protocol. So used to map the IP addresses to corresponding physical address. Now the physical address of the machine, or maybe like the desktop or laptop, that will have a MAC address. So what it does is ARP, it will identify the IP address for that particular mission, like MAC address, and it will try to route the data which is coming from a different sources to a particular destination or the host. So I hope you would have uh, let me give you this example, like let me share this. Let's say there are system 1 is there. You can see the screen, right? Yeah, so this is a system 1, and you wanted to send some email. So you are sending an email. I'm just giving you an example. Okay, so every machine system has got the MAC address. That means a media access control address, which will not change by, it is by default, which has been given by the manufacturer. So to access, or like to perform the activities on this machine, and with respect to the communication, or where you wanted to communicate with other systems with the help of network, so that requires an IP address, right? And only system ఉండే MAC address సరిపోదు. If you wanted to communicate with somebody, some other systems, and if you wanted to share any of the information over the internet, so you must have an internet protocol. So usually this will be a combination of, like 1.1.2.3, or maybe 11.1.2.3. So this will have a IP address where you would have already learned about this private IPs and public IPs. So typically a device requires an IP address to communicate over a network. So this could be a temporary and it will change. And so system one has drafted an email. So that consists of a MAC address, and that wanted to, with the help of IP address, it has shared an email. Now the X1, this is another system with the name of X1 is there, and this has got a MAC address because this has been, this machine also have a MAC address, and since it is connected to an internet, so MAC address will be associated with another IP address. Let's suppose this MAC IP address could be like 20.1.2.2 is the assigned IP address for this machine. Okay, so whenever you have received, so initially you will be connected to an ISP, right, internet service provider, and from there you will be having a router, right? So router will be distributing the internet to different systems or machines. Okay, so from there you will be receiving that particular email to this system, and the email is nothing but a data, right? So this data will be carried with the format called packet. So this packet will be received initially by ARP, that is Address Resolution Protocol. Now this has to decide. I mean, we have received a data packet, and this data packet has to be sent to a designated machine or the system or the laptop or the mobile smartphone. So it will identify for which IP address, and which contains the MAC address with the following the email ID. Of course, that will have an email ID, right? So that email ID for which machine it is been associated, and that's how it could able to deliver to that particular destination. So in simple way of understanding, ARP is nothing but, like, it is an address resolution protocol which will identify the data, which will have the data packet, and this has to route to a uh, uh, destination which contains the MAC address and IP address. So in our general explanation, so it is a network protocol used to map an IP address to a correspondent physical address, that is MAC, on a local area. So facilitating communication between two devices in the same network segment. Okay, so that's the ARP. Now what happens in the ARP poisoning attack is, so in the address resolution protocol poisoning, in this, like, the attacker will try to mislead the computers and switches about the actual MAC address of an system. So what happens is, if he tries to inject a malicious code, so what it does is it will manipulate the ARP. Ante that particular machine consists of a MAC address. So it was supposed to deliver to, like, X, Y, Z, which contains an MAC address followed with an IP address like this. So what they will do is, they will try to mislead this destination to some other destination where the attacker is operating the system. Understood? That is nothing but uh, this data packet will be misleaded to the system or the machine which is being manipulated by an attacker. So nothing but the misleading. So in what sense they could able to mislead is with the help of ARP. So if they could able to compromise this ARP, then the attacker will be misleading. Like he will try to route that data packet from XYZ destination to his own destination. So like this, what happens? He could able to see that email, what it contains, or what packet that contains. It is possible for him to look in. So that is nothing but where he could able to compromise that machine with the help of ARP. So that's a type of like one of the attack which involves, and another one is zero-day attack. Now zero-day attack is something like the name itself says, it's a 0 day. That means, in short, the attacker has created a payload or a malicious script which doesn't have any solution. That means this vulnerability has been existing in any of the products, and the manufacturer itself doesn't know that there is a vulnerability which is existed. So let's understand the definition. Zero-day attack is one that exploits an undocumented vulnerability. Many times the vendor is not aware of the issue. At some point, the vendor learns of the vulnerability and begins to write and test the patch to eliminate it. However, until the vendor releases the patch, the vulnerability is a zero-day vulnerability. Got got the like essence of this zero-day attack. So let's say one XYZ company, let's suppose there is a new trend, or you would have heard about lot chat gpt. Now chat gpt is new in the market. So there are an attackers, they could able to attack the chat gpt also, and that has had an attempt as well in real. So the attacker would be trying to attack that chat gpt, and the creator or the vendor, basically the whoever has created that chat gpt, they themselves doesn't know that there is a vulnerability which has been existed, and that vulnerability has been captured by the attacker, and from that the attack has been followed. Now these guys, I mean whoever has designed the chat gpt, will be reworking to patch that. That means to create a solution for that particular attack. So initially they doesn't know that there is a like weak point or vulnerability which is existed. Once the attacker has attacked that, then they have done a R&D and created a patch. Patch is nothing but a kind of a resolution or a containment process which they write, that is called a patch. So till the solution has been outcomed, so the time till they have like release that patch, that particular phase is called zero-day vulnerability. Got it? Any doubts? Yes or no? No, no, no. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Now another important and most commonly asked question in the interview is the SQL injection. Now SQL injection is a type of cyber attack where an attacker injects the malicious SQL code into the input field of the website or application, exploits the vulnerability in the database. Now, I'm telling a lot of the times vulnerability, vulnerability, vulnerability. So, what exactly is the vulnerability? Can somebody gives your views on the vulnerability? What is vulnerability? Please tell me. Can somebody tell me what is vulnerability? Yeah, it's kind of like in a simple way. uh, it's nothing but, yeah, weak point. It's a weakest way, or a kind of an entryway for the attackers where they could able to enter from that particular gateway. So it's nothing but a loophole. Okay, so we, in the cybersecurity language, we'll talk it as, like, sense it as vulnerability, nothing but a loophole. Okay, so yeah, so in general, SQL injection is a type of cyber attack where an attacker injects the SQL code. Now, what is SQL code? So SQL code is nothing but structured query language. Okay, so there is a website. Okay, let's imagine that there is a Facebook, or, like, maybe Instagram, where basically it's a social media website, right? So the vulnerability exists. I'm not telling that Facebook or Instagram is vulnerable to this kind of an injection, SQL injections, but in general, there are certain websites which are vulnerable. Give me a minute. I'm just getting a disturbance. So this example could give you a better explanation on the SQL injection, how it works. Suppose you have a website with a simple login page. When user enters their username and password, the website checks this information against a database to verify if the user is a legitimate or not. Now imagine that you are using a banking application. Okay. Now imagine you are using a banking application. Maybe you are trying to browse ICICI. Okay, so you are trying, whenever you are entering www.icici bank.com, so it will route to a website which will ask your user and password, right? So you are going to enter your username and password. So once the username password has been entered, so at the back end, it will check and verify whether the user is a legitimate user or not. If it is yes, it will pass the two-way authenticator for the logins. That's the general process, right? So now the vulnerability exists here in the user credential page. So this says, like, whenever, now imagine you want to log in, but instead of entering a regular username, you type something like this into the user field. That could be admin colon, understand the script, admin colon drop table user colon dash dash. So this is the different pattern which is not usual. I mean that whenever you are trying to enter a username, that username will be consisting of, like, something like, okay, Vishal 7580 or Vishal 040431. It's general username, right? But here, if you look at this pattern in the username field, if you are entering this kind of a like uncommon user information, if the system is aware, and if the system knows that this kind of a unauthorized script uh, is malicious or suspicious, if the system is understands that, then it will drop the request. If not, in a vulnerable system, if the system does not properly handles this input, it might construct a SQL query, like, and then in depth what happens is, with this kind of a query, it will generally does is select star username, where username is equal to admin drop table user colon and password is equal to. So this is a kind of a different like argument, which is basically contains the semicolons is a SQL statement separated, and double hyphen is used to comment and out the rest of the query. So in this example, an attacker could potentially trick the system into executing a malicious SQL command to delete the entire user table. Okay, so in a secure system, the input would be properly sanitized or parameterized in a way to preventing the injection of malicious SQL code and protecting the against SQL injection attacks. So if the website is having this capacity to identify, so generally this is always recommended whenever you are creating a website. You would have heard about, like, HTTPS and HTTP. Now, what is HTTP and what is HTTPS? Yep, you would have heard about this HTTP and HTTPS, right? Can anyone? Yeah, somebody else has tried. Yeah, can you please tell me? Right. HTTP stands for like Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and HTTPS is stands for secure. Now, if the website is not an HTTPS, then that could be a vulnerable. That means that website could take these inputs, and with this kind of, like, unstandard or, like, related script, it could able to take it forward, and that's where, like, you could able to delete the user information if the attacker runs this kind of a script. This is only an example. This is an example script which has been written by the attacker to only delete the user information. Now if you wanted to uh, get the user information, or, like, if you wanted to extract the information, probably he might be writing a different script, right? So it's just an SQL injection that, if the website is not sanitized or not secured, then he can write any SQL code with respect to the attacker goals. ఏదైనా రాయొచ్చు, ఏదైనా స్టీల్ చేయొచ్చు, because it is vulnerable. So that is the reason to avoid this SQL injection or any of the cross scripting injection. So it is always better to opt HTTPS websites which are secured, and that could able to understand this kind of a, like, unrelated scripts, and which will drop the connection, or, like, user not to give this information, or it will block this request to enter in the web server. Got it? Clear? This example clear? So what you need to remember is the SQL query looks something like this: semicolon, or, like, statement separator, which will have a double hyphen. So this whenever your system reads, or like your web server reads this kind of an inputs like hyphens or semicolon, that is where, like, it will understand this is something like, kind of a SQL injection attempt. So whenever your web server is identifying this kind of a request, it should drop the communication from that particular host. And even yesterday when I told you, like, web application firewalls are there. Now web application firewalls are more smarter, that will identify this kind of a comments or statements. So the moment it sees this kind of a semicolon, or like a double hyphen, or related, or something which is like uncommon, that will immediately blocks the traffic, and there will not be any three-way communication or three-way handshake communication with respect to the host. Got it? Now, similar to the SQL injection, we have a cross scripting injection, or in other way we will call it as XSS. Now, in this type of security vulnerability, commonly found in the web application, in XSS attacks, attacker inject malicious script into the web pages that are viewed by the other users. Now, here in the cross scripting, these attackers will be using the Java codes or HTML codes, wherein in the SQL injection, what type of codes they will be using? Structured query language statements, which will have a semicolon, double hyphen. Understood the difference? Cross scripting or the SQL injection are basically a web injection, web application injection attempts. So the only difference in the SQL injection is SQL injection consists of a injection attempts which will be having in a structured query language in a better way of understanding, which the script contains semicolon or double hyphens. Wherein cross scripting injection attempts, the injection or the script contains the Java code or HTML code to execute the content. So what the both will do is that will allow the attacker to steal the information or manipulate the content or perform actions on behalf of the victim. Right. Now let's understand the example how this works. So certainly let's simplify the example. Now imagine a social media website where the user can post the comment like Facebook or maybe like Instagram. You have an option of commenting, right? Somebody will be posting their images, and down you can post like good image or wonderful image, nice, blah blah blah. So you have a dashboard where you can actually post some of the comments. Now this cross scripting vulnerability exists there. Like imagine a social website where user can post comments. You want to post a harmful comment. Let's suppose like if you're an attacker, so you will be posting a harmful comment, but the website does not properly checks what you are entering. Instead of typing a regular comment on your uh, comment, you will be entering a following script. Now the comment contains this followed by like a script alert, open bracket, colon, hello, I am a malicious script, and close the bracket and script. So this is something like this comment is basically giving a kind of a script which is basically an HTML comment or could be a Java comment or JavaScript, basically a JavaScript, or could be a HTML script. So if the website is vulnerable to the cross scripting, it might display this comment as part of the page content. That means if the website is vulnerable, that means it is not secure. Then it will take it as a normal comment, how the people will post the regular comments. The same way, this will also be considered. But what happens with this is now wherever another user views the page with your comments, the malicious script runs into their browser and showing an alert with a message called hello, I am a malicious script. That means this comment would have been seen by you in Facebook or XYZ social media site. And if that particular site is not vulnerable, if that particular site is uh, not sanitized properly or not secured properly, then it will be viewed by you. And if you see that something is wrong and you wanted to click that, so the moment you click that, so you will be experiencing this kind of a alert. The alert shows uh, with the message called hello, I am a malicious script. So what happens, it will be a more dangerous scenario. The script could do things like stealing the user login cookies or performing actions on behalf of the user without their consent. Now what happens is like stealing the browser cookies is, let's imagine you are entering username and password of the Gmail. Whenever you are browsing a Gmail, you are entering that. And next time you might be using a banking application, you will be also giving your username and password. So username, passwords, whatever the website which you are browsing, this will be stored in the cookie. I mean, it will be stored as a cookies in your browser. That means if the cookies are hacked, if your user cookies are being hacked by the attacker, then it is easy for him, right? I mean, he could able to steal the information very easily. Indirectly, he will be having your username and your password. So that is where, like, the cross scripting site is very dangerous, and this is been very popular in terms of, like, attackers point of view. It's just a simple code that they need to present in the comments, and from there, like, it's boom, like, they can get all the users information, whoever views that comment, right? So that's in that way, like, the SQL injection or cross scripting injection are very dangerous. So SQL injection, in other way we will call it as XSS, is about injecting harmful script into a website. And if the website does not properly protect against it, these scripts can run in the browsers of other users who visits the affected page. So far so good. You understood the ARP, zero-day attack, SQL injection, and the example, and also the cross scripting. With respect to the cross scripting, how the like script would be, and in what way that will harm the users. You got a understanding of that. So only thing is, like, the difference is cross scripting site could be more vulnerable in social media sites, and SQL injections could be more vulnerable in the banking sites or banking applications. Yes, yes or no, so that I can proceed with the other topic called phishing. Cool. Guys who has started newly, you could able to follow this, right? I hope you could able to follow. Or do you have any challenges? Great. Cool. Yeah, phishing is another way where, like, these cyber attackers will be using this technique in order to in order to get the credentials, or it could be anything in terms of, like, compromising a machine, or hijacking the server, or could be, like, they could able to steal the data or something, any sort of, like, attack which can be uh, initiated with the help of phishing. Now, phishing is a cyber attack where attackers use deceptive emails, messages, or websites to trick individuals to disclosing sensitive information such as username, password, or financial details. The goal is to manipulate the users into believing they are interacting with a trustworthy entity such as bank or legitimate websites, when in fact they are providing their information to a malicious actor. So there are several types of phishing attacks, each with its specific approach. Here are some of the common types which you will be seeing. One common, probably everybody in your lifetime would have seen the phishing email. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. So basically what happens, the attacker sent a deceptive emails, often impersonating, like, it's a legitimate entity, just to trick the recipient to reveal sensitive information, or clicking a malicious link. So that the phishing email consists something like, a expression or kind of a subject line which will tempts you to press those links, or give your details like that. So that's a general email phishing which you will be seeing. There is another type of phishing which is called as spear phishing. Now, spear phishing is something like, it will target basically a targeted form of phishing where the attackers tailor their deceptive messages to a specific individual or a organization using a personalized information to increase the likelihood of success. That means they wanted to target a group of people in the organization, particularly to a specific uh, domain. Probably, if you look at organizations like TCS and maybe like any of the service-based company, so they work on different entities. So TCS will have a different separate verticals. Somebody will be working on like standard like Java development products. Probably somebody will be working on like maybe data science or maybe some other different products. Now the attacker, where he wanted to target a specific domain of that particular organization in terms of like data science or like R&D R&D related group. That's where like the attacker will be using a spear phishing. And there is another phishing which is called as Vishing. So this is nothing but like voice phishing. So the attacker will be using a phone calls to trick the individuals into providing a sensitive information or performing actions, often by posing as a trusted entity like a bank or a government agency. These are like very common every day. I think you could able to see this like phishing calls. So somebody will be acting something like they are a bank employees, and they will try to trick you to share an OTP. So right now almost all the banking like owners or like bankers are giving an advertisements like not to show any, not to share any OTPs to an unauthorized person, including a bank person. So you would have heard about this, or probably some of you would have also experienced that kind of a calls. Yes. So that is the reason, like we should not share any of your OTP information to any third person, or maybe except you should not share your OTP to any unauthorized person. And there is another technique called whaling. Now whaling is something like this will be targeting the CXOs. That means similar to spear phishing, but specifically targets the high profile individuals like CEOs or executive levels are aiming to gain access to valuable corporate information. So whaling comes with like a target of approaching CXOs, maybe a CTO who will be a chief technical officer, or maybe a CISO, chief information security officer, or maybe a CEO, chief executive officer, or maybe CFO. So these are the high level people who will have the entire entire organization stuff in their like in their system, or probably in their laptop. So whaling attack is something like if this is been success, then you can collapse the organization within no time, because you're targeting the CXOs. Got it. So in general, the summary of this is like malicious actors create fake websites optimized for search engines, tricking users into visiting these sites and providing sensitive information. In all types of phishing, awareness, education, and vigilance are crucial for the individuals and organizations to recognize and avoid falling into the victims to these deceptive tactics. So on the other day, when I have given you the like practical session, I mean, I have shown you the Mimecast how it works. So you would have seen there were some of the spam emails where the users were reporting it, but those spam emails were basically generated by the internal employees only, which means they are creating a awareness campaign. They're trying to educate the users, and they are checking whether the employees are vigilant or not. So that's how like the education or awareness campaigns should run in any of the organizations, whether they are following the necessary steps to report such kind of a phishing emails or spam emails. Cool. Any doubts with respect to some of the cyber attacks part 2?